Today I'm going to talk about creating videos to use in your classroom. I will talk about how to use videos in your curriculum and then discuss 3 web tools in detail: Screencast-O-Matic and Biteable, which are video creation tools. I will also discuss Padlet, which is an online message board of sorts. And I have a list of other web tools that I will discuss if time permits. You'll get a list of these with a quick explanation that's on a Padlet that you can investigate at your leisure later. Before we discuss the video creation tools, I'd like to briefly explain some terminology that I'll be using and how you can use these videos in your classroom. So firstly, screencasting. What is screencasting? It's just a video capture of your computer screen. Usually it's going to have a voiceover narration. Many of you have seen screencast videos your students or kids watch of other kids playing video games. These are screencasts. Screencasts are an excellent way to demonstrate how to do something on the computer, especially like creating a certain document or like a works cited page, that sort of thing. And you'll notice that very often there's an icon of the speaker in the corner. You don't always have to include that, though. That's an option that you can either go with or not have it at all and just have your voice. And then there's slide casting. Slide casting is really the same thing as screencasting. You're capturing the image on your screen, but rather than having the image be something on the computer like a web page or a document, it's actually a slideshow that you've created and you narrate over the slideshow, kind of like you would present it in class. You've just taken it and made it a video. This is kind of like making a PowerPoint video. If some of you have done that in the past, I think using some of the screen capture technology we'll talk about in a minute is a lot easier than the way we used to make old PowerPoint videos. But this is a picture on the screen here of a video lesson I made on nouns for a freshman English course. I basically made a slideshow about nouns. I had notes like if I was going to give a lecture with that slideshow in class, but instead I created a video with it and I narrated it, and periodically through the video the students would stop. They would be told to pause here like the screen tells them, and they would have activities they did on a worksheet throughout the video. Just in time is a term that I may use some, and what that refers to is that's just short videos that a teacher or instructor is going to create for students to access as needed for them to remember a concept that's already been taught or reviewed. So these are going to be short, brief videos that you're going to create for students to use at their leisure. So here's a picture of a couple of screencast videos that I made showing students how to create or manipulate a particular document. So like creating their project plan back when we had a senior project, or formatting their works cited page for their research paper. These are videos that I'll usually have on my website or on Canvas, Google Classroom if you use either of those. They're also on my YouTube channel, and that way students can kind of access them repeatedly as needed at their leisure. Because you may go over how to do a works cited page one day in class, but we all know that, say that works cited page isn't due for another week or even longer, students are going to forget and they're going to be asking you a million times, and you can say, you know what, just look at the video. Another way, of course, you can use videos is for note-taking, lectures, and full lessons. So it is important to remember that what we know is that most students are not going to pay attention to a video longer than 5 minutes. I mean, your students, you'll know if they'll be able to pay attention for longer than that, but I think a lot of research shows that anywhere between 3.5 minutes to 5 minutes is usually going to be a student's max, and they'll just turn it off or tune out or have something else opened. We just talked about the just-in-time videos. Those are videos that students can just access as they need. But you can also make complete lessons or notes. So for example, when I had English 1, my parts of speech unit included a weekly video lesson with an accompanying worksheet that students completed in class every Wednesday. So if we were doing nouns, then that Wednesday it was a nouns video, there was a worksheet. I also had like a Google form that would be like an assessment of did they get it? And then I would know if we needed to go back and do it again. And it was in the middle of the, so we would start nouns on Monday, and then the Wednesday would be the video. It would be kind of like a reminder, a refresher. This is what we're doing. These are the ideas. These are the rules, so forth. You can also do it for note taking. My son in 7th grade, his science teacher at Moorhead Middle had made video for note taking. And so for homework every week, he would watch a video. It was basically a PowerPoint. It was a slide casting video, and she would narrate it. And they had a worksheet that went with it, and they filled out the notes. And I thought that was really neat. I've also created introductory videos to front load basic information prior to beginning a new unit. That's what this picture is. Before we started the metamorphoses, the students watched. It's like a 5-minute video on Franz Kafka and the metamorphoses that they watched and took some notes on before we started the book. So the first tool I'm going to discuss is Screencast-O-Matic. This is the one I use. I know it really well, and I really like it. This is a web tool. It's designed for creating, editing, and publishing screencast videos. It's really sophisticated, but I think it's really easy to use. There is a free plan, an $18 a year plan, and a $50 a year plan. I do pay for the $18 a year plan because I feel like I use it enough that it's worth it to me. But there is a free version. Screencast-O-Matic allows you to adjust the size of the recorder to include certain portions of the screen. It also allows you to either have a webcam box in the corner, like here, or you cannot include that. I never include that, but you do have a choice. And of course, you can you do the voiceover narration. Lots of editing features if you pay. You don't have the editing features for the free version. That's one of the downsides. And in a minute, at the end of the presentation, I'll let you guys get in there and kind of play around if you want to. Another tool is Screencastify. Now, honestly, I don't have a lot of experience with Screencastify, but this is a Chrome extension, and the advantage of this one is you can use it with a Chromebook. Screencast-O-Matic cannot be used with a Chromebook. It's not going to support it. But you could use Screencastify, which I think would be beneficial if you wanted to have students make screencasts. I know in the past when we had senior projects, one thing I had considered doing was having my students make a video, a slide casting video of their presentations where they narrated over. So that would help them edit their speeches, get their timing right, and so forth. And I'm sure you guys can all think of different ways that students making their own screencast videos could be useful. It could even, replace like a class presentation, and you could have the videos they make housed on a Padlet, which we'll talk about later, and the students could all watch each other's at different times. But there's all kinds of uses for it. But Screencastify I wanted to mention more than anything because it's a Chrome extension and the students could use it on a Chromebook. It also has a free version and paid versions. Paid versions obviously have a little more editing options and so forth, but the students could use the free version and still create pretty decent videos. Next, I want to talk about Biteable. Now, Biteable is not a screen capture video maker, so you're not going to do a slide capture or a screenshot. But what it does do is it has pre-made video templates, and you just plug in what you want it to say. There's no voiceover narration either, but there is free music. It's pretty quick. It's really easy to use. I could see where it would be beneficial for like a quick concept, a reminder, here's the rules on nouns, if you forgot them, something like that. I think it would be harder to do anything more in depth with Biteable, but that's something you can decide for yourself. I've used it before too, like before I do an introduction. Like before we read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I made a Biteable video of a bunch of different like outer space facts that I just thought were neat. And then they did an anticipation guide that went along with it about, themes that were going to be in the book. So once you've made videos, what do you do with them? So there's lots of options. You can save them in your Google Drive. Almost all of these options are things you can save onto a hard drive or a Google Drive or a cloud, wherever you prefer. You can also upload them to video if you have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel just because I make a lot of them. And then usually what I do, if videos are no longer relevant. Like say I have my formatting works cited and it was very specific to what I was doing that semester and may not work again, I just go in and delete them. And when you use YouTube, you do have the option as the owner of your YouTube channel to go in there and disable comments, which I always do. And mine's, pretty, nobody, I mean, the students will go to it, there will be links to it, and it's just another way to ensure they have access to the videos, even though I'll also have those links on my website or Google Classroom. They can go to the YouTube channel with a quick search and find whatever video they might need for class. So I wanted to talk about other ways to share and use your videos in class, and there's two specifically. I'm going to discuss Google Forms and Padlet. So I'm sure most of you are really familiar with Google Forms. I use them quite a bit for quick assessments because you can make them like a quiz and it instantly grades it, which is really nice. So this is the picture here is a Google form I created to accompany my introduction to Kafka video. And actually, I ended up doing it this way because I knew I was going to be out one day, but I didn't want to postpone starting this unit. So what I did is I made the quick introduction to Kafka video, which is something I probably usually would have done like a lecture. It's real brief, like 3 to 5 minutes. And then I had the students answer some questions to make sure they'd watched the video, and then it prompted them to do different things with the graphic novel for that day I was out. And it gave me a record of what they'd done and if they'd gotten it and if I needed to go back. So it can be pretty useful, and you can put them together pretty quickly if you know you're going to be out especially. And then the last way that you can use videos is Padlet. You can actually use Padlet for all kinds of things in the classroom. I'll be honest, I was at a presentation a couple of years ago where Padlet was discussed, and I didn't pay much attention and didn't ever go or check it out. And then sometime last year, I somehow saw one and started using it, and I love it. Like I go to it, I use it all the time. So you can create a Padlet where they respond to a video. You can embed links to the video to the Padlet. And as you'll see, I made a Padlet with all of the resources on this topic for today's presentation. So that'll give you kind of give you a view of what Padlet can do and how you can embed stuff. So the pictures on the screen here are two Padlets I've done in the past. One I use for the students worked in small groups, and they created and submitted questions using Blooms about a book excerpt we had read. That was this one, The Communist Eye. And then the next one, they worked in pairs, and they had to submit links for parody and satire examples from popular culture, and then in a brief paragraph defend why it was one versus the other. This was, of course, after a lesson we had done on the difference between parody and satire, and it was an introduction to The Hitchhiker's Guide. The good thing about Padlet is they can access it with a link. They don't have to have usernames and passwords, which is great because they always forget those, no matter how often I seem to use them. But the Padlet page themselves are actually private, so you have to have a link to access it. So when your students are posting, they're not just posting on the web in general where anybody could find it. You do have to have a link to access them. So that's the end of my video presentation, and now I'm going to let you guys have some time to check out some of these tools on the Padlet page I made and ask questions if you have them and kind of get in there and fool around yourselves. All right, thank you.